Welcome everyone to another episode of Fate Grand Order Servant War Room. This is George again, and I'll be discussing how your favorite servant would handle an actual Holy Grail War. Because you never know. Maybe one day you're walking down the street and BAM! Shadows. Shadows everywhere! Hundred Face Hassan is a 3-star assassin servant first released in the Fate Zero event. Surprisingly, they've had quite a good amount of appearances. Their first appearance was in Fate Zero as the assassin of that war, but they also appeared in the Camelot Singularity as an ally. That said, unfortunately in both, Hundred Face was never actually used correctly as they were meant to be used. So, in a Holy Grail War, would a Hundred Face be that bad as the story so far has shown us? There's not much to talk about here, although in Fate Grand Order, a Hundred Face is represented as this female character. In reality, a Hundred Face is composed by, well, 80 individuals. Wait, a Hundred Face should actually be called 80 Face? While all of their personalities could be said to be similar, they all have their own little quirk, so it's difficult to talk about personality since they're not an individual but instead a collective. That said, there's at least one thing you can be sure about. A Hundred Face acts mostly as a business partner, and will do pretty much everything you tell them to. They'll even sacrifice one of their own if that's one of your orders, so you don't need to worry about backstabs from them. A Hundred Fate's stats actually look pretty good, however they should not be taken into consideration when talking about a Hundred Face, as each one is different from another. I'll explain in more detail what I mean when we reach the Noble Phantom. A Hundred Face has 4 skills, an average number for assassins. All their skills can be classified as stealth orientated. They are skills that are clearly meant to be used by assassins and spies. Presence Concealment, rank A+. A really high rank, by the way. A Hundred Face can literally disappear and be practically impossible to detect even when others have detecting abilities. However, this only works if a Hundred Face isn't going for an assassination. Once a Hundred Face prepares to attack, the rank of the skill will be downgraded and they can be spotted. Library of Knowledge, rank C. It's basically a memory skill. Since all 80 individuals are different, this skill allows all of them to have somewhat of a shared memory. Not only that, but they are exceptional at remembering, meaning they could literally not be paying attention to a conversation, but thanks to their shared memories, they would be able to perfectly reenact the conversation as if they were the ones participating in it. All kinds of specializations, rank A+. As I mentioned before, a Hundred Face is composed by 80 individuals, and as such they all have different things that they are good at. In total there's 32 skills, each one having a different degree of specialization on one of those skills. Some are experts, others are useless. Battle Retreat, rank B. There's no explanation for the skill, but given its name, it's likely another version of Disengage. By sacrificing something, they are able to escape a battle. And finally, their Noble Phantom. Zabania, Delusional Illusion. It's a passive Noble Phantom that allows a Hundred Face to exist as a collective rather than being a single servant. This might sound amazing, but wait, there's a trick here. First of all, there is no way to replenish lost numbers. This means you start with 80 Hassans, and any loss is permanent. Second, each Hassan is different from another, not just in personality and appearance, but also in their competency levels and specialization. And that is the big Achilles heel of a Hundred Face. Despite being an assassin, there are actual individuals in the group that are terrible at assassination. Despite being mostly obedient, there are rebellious individuals that can't follow orders well. In other words, having 100 face is not just about controlling one servant, it's about controlling 80 servants, all of which have their own uniqueness. Overall, 100 face does sound like an amazing assassin to get, but the individuality of each one can be tricky to manage and lead to some unfortunate accidents. Perfect for planners. If you like planning, scheming, tricking, and all that jazz, then 100 face is perfect for you. Their multiple bodies and specializations will certainly provide you the tools needed. Management intensive. 100 face demands a micromanagement on ridiculous levels to be truly used correctly. Unpredictability. Even if you have a good plan, the fact that each one has a different personality can lead to many of your plans to have an unpredictable outcome because one or more of them acted in a way you didn't want them to. Not a fighter. All of their stats are divided among them, meaning that in any war, 100 face will be the weakest servant physically. So if you saw that you could just use their numbers to overwhelm an enemy servant, then shame on you. I'll give you the Tokiomi Dumb Medal. Okay, let's head to the best part now. What can you do with 100 face? Well, the beginning of Fate Zero has a pretty good idea for you to copy. But before even that, there's one thing you should do. Interview every single one of the Hassans. Use your phone or a camera and take pictures of each one. Then have each of them write down what they're best at, and you can also write down important notes that you found while interviewing them. Make a portfolio of every individual so that you know what each one is best at. Then divide them in separate groups on what they're good at. So for example, you can make an assassination group for the ones that are best at assassination, a spying group for the ones who are best at spying, a bodyguard group for the ones who are best with physical abilities, etc. You get the point. Try to figure out who is best at what, and then organize them to better utilize them for future plans. This will take some time, probably a few days, but believe me, this will make it a lot easier for the future. Then, have one of the 80 Hassans die at the hands of another servant. Ideally, the one that you identified as being the most useless. Have your Hassans spy through the war and then find two masters fighting. Have one of them go for an assassination attempt. Only one of them can go though. Do not send more than one to attempt the assassination. When the assassination attempt fails and the Hassan dies, everyone in the war will think that assassin is gone, but you'll still have 79 Hassans. So now that everyone thinks you're out of the picture, what can you do? First of all, hide your command seals. If they are in your hands, just use gloves to hide them. Next, if you haven't set up an intelligent network, do it already. Divide your Hassans throughout the several points in the area to let them cover a good amount of territory. This should let you figure out where each master's base is at. Identify the masters that are the most vulnerable, and the masters that are the safest. If you have enough Hassans in the assassination group, then I would even divide several of them through all enemy masters to watch over them 24/7. Do not go for the kill right at the start. Even if you succeed in killing a master, other masters and servants will be alerted of assassin if masters just start dying inside their bases. Let the war proceed as each enemy take each other out. The only exception to this are safe masters. Masters that are constantly with their servants or in well-protected areas need to die fast. You can't let them get to the end of the war, or else you won't have that many options for them. You should order your Hassans to actually go for the kill on these type of masters, if for example they are left alone by their servants. That said, that's all you can really do with 100 face. The only way to win is by going after the masters. Luckily for you though, you have the perfect information network to give you all the information you need to plan your path to victory. 100 face is not an easy servant, and to be honest, they aren't for everyone. They require a lot, and I mean a lot of micromanagement. And for example, in my case, I'm not sure I could pull it off. I'm much more suited for macromanagement than micromanagement. But I suppose me and almost any other human on the planet could at least do a better job than what Kotomine and Tokiyome did in Fate Zero. I'll give Hundred Face rank B. Anyone with half a brain can immediately see the ridiculous plans you can pull off with a Hundred Face. And it's clear that the only reason why they ended with the short end of the stick in Fate Zero is because Tokiyome is dumb as a rock and Kirei is more brain dead than a rock. Guys, really? You sent every single one of the Hassans against Rider? You couldn't keep, oh, I don't know, one of them alive? Because after that fiasco, even Kiritsugu thought that the assassin was gone. Just keeping one of them would have given you so much of an edge. But I guess that would actually require a working brain cell in either one of your brains. Also, really? After Rider crushes Hassan, everyone just thinks Assassin is gone? I'm pretty sure any normal human being would have been paranoid thinking that Hassan is still around. And that was Hundred Face Hassan. A pretty standard servant, very old-fashioned servant from Fate Zero. Very simple servant to understand. I think anyone who has watched Fate Zero kind of knows that 100 Face Hassan was used in the worst possible way. Like, they started well, and then they just, I guess Tokiyome just showed how much of a dumbass he is. Him and Kirei, because Kirei was also a dumbass. It's also kind of amazing how one little detail that happened in Fate Zero could have ended with both Kiritsugu and Keinef dead on the first night, right? So in the fight where Lancer is fighting Saber, and for some reason Tokiyome, who is a very smart individual, instead of sending his own familiar to spy on the battle, just goes, Kirei, you know Hassan that everyone thinks is dead? Let's send them instead to spy, and we can see through their eyes. But Master, we need Hassan to be visible to see through their eyes. I know. But what about the plan of everyone thinking that Hassan is dead? We have a plan. Just send them anyway. Oh my god. What is this? Why would you do that? It makes no logical sense. But there's a reason why that was done. And the reason is, if they didn't do that, Kiritsugu would have shot Keinef, because the only reason Kiritsugu did not shoot Keinef was because Hassan was there. So if Hassan was invisible, Kiritsugu would have just killed Keinef on the spot, and after killing Keinef, Hassan, who would have been invisible, would have seen Kiritsugu and killed Kiritsugu. So it's really one of those moments. Man, Fate Zero has a lot of these issues. A lot of people have a lot of praise for Fate Zero, but man, Fate Zero has so many issues, especially with how 100 Face was used. Because a lot of how 100 Face was used was just plot convenience, just to structure it in the way they wanted it. And anyway, that's enough of a rant. Maybe I'll make a video about me ranting about Fate Zero one day, because I have a lot of issues with Fate Zero. Even though I do think it was actually a pretty good story, but I do have an actual lot of issues that were done there. But anyway, that's another story. This was 100 Face Hassan. I actually like 100 Face Hassan, especially the female one. I like muscles, I'm not gonna lie. And anyway, that's enough for today. If you enjoy my content, leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Make your suggestion. Also, thank you Anxious Mac for the suggestion of 100 Face Hassan. This was actually a pretty solid video. Like, I learned a new saying. I did not know that the Hassans actually needed so much micromanagement. In my mind, they were all kind of similar to one another with just slightly differences in personality. I didn't actually think they all had different levels of proficiency. Let's put it that way. Anyway, until next time, bye.